Chant. Greetings and welcome to Chant a Summer Day. Summer Day. Chant a Summer Day. Greetings and welcome to Chant a Summer Day. Give thanks for this day that my words and my meditation is acceptable to all that is righteous. As we come on this day to chant the psalm, oh my goodness, it is, what is it, Thursday? Yep, I think it's Thursday. What does it say? Yep, Thursday. So it is Thursday, July 25th. And as we are going through July, we celebrate the birth of His Majesty on the 23rd. 2 days ago, we remembered the birth of Haile Selassie I. Many black people in America do not know of or have no idea. So I suggest you all read this book. It's called The Destruction of Black Civilization, and it's Great Issues of a Race from 4500 BC to 2000 AD. It's by Chancellor Williams. This is a great read. This will guide you, Black America, Black Americans, to the undoubtedly light and truth that you need in this time, because a lot of times people become collateral damage in the war against righteousness, and they end up on that side of wrongness. So, and they unknowingly end up on the wrong side on the wrong side, and when it's too late, then they realize, oh my goodness, this is where I am. So you want to seek out for that light, that love, that kindness, that righteousness, that humility, and all of that, because having an excuse that, oh, it's children, they're going to want to do that. No, you are there to guide children. Get away from those violent video games. The violent video games, the violent, movies, just the violence, period. Get away from violence, because the Most High does not love violence, because the Most High is about righteousness, love, and mercy. So we want to keep the fire blazing all the time, because fire will blaze out the wicked. This is what fire does. It blazes out the wicked, and that our wickedness cannot be around fire. So when we talk about the psalm today, today's psalm is 43. It's about sending out your light and truth. So I send that out to everyone. I send out light and I send out truth out there, because oftentimes people get the truth twisted into their own place. So when we talk about truth and we talk about light, you want to be very specific, because let's put this here. Because it's important when we are trying to heal, we're trying to grow, we're trying to make, our way. And there we go. As, we we find that light and that truth that's within us, then we're going to attract that, right? So let's begin with our psalm today. And our psalm is 43. Send out righteousness' truth and light. And excuse me. And we just got the Bible verse for today. And the Bible verse for today is from Psalm 119, 6, verse 60. I will hasten and do not delay to obey righteousness, the commands of righteousness. So don't delay. Don't make it delay. Apologize right away. I did that. I posted things on social media about my past relationship that was hurtful, and I took it down because when I looked at the 8th commandment, instead, of talking about your past relationships and what the person did or didn't do, talk about yourself and what you did or didn't do. So that's why I took the post down, because I was basically erring on the side of hurt, and that hurt propelled me to air out all of the shortcomings that I feel were done, and not non-communicative situations where people don't communicate to you that they want to move on, that they've done, and it comes out in this hostile way. So I went on the defense, and instead we are to come to their defense and defend them. Oh, they were wrong, they cheated, and they may not know how to communicate their feelings, and we need to speak well of them, and we need to interpret everything they do in the best possible light. It may not have been in the good possible light as I see it, but we have to interpret it, everything that they do, in the best possible light. Even if they, cheat on you, or they didn't communicate with you to tell you that they're moving on, but they moved on without communicating, So that is the case, then you don't want to slander people. You don't want to destroy people's reputations. A cheater is a cheater, and they may not think of themselves as a cheater, but you are at the receiving end of it. You feel that way. So you don't want to destroy people's reputations. If somebody did you wrong, you talk about what the wrong was done and not the character of the person. Because the character of the person may be a nice person, they just didn't know how to communicate. Okay, so let's get into the psalm. So the psalm today is 43. Send out your light and your truth. And I take out the pronouns. So when we look at we're talking about God, right? And when we talk about God, we're talking about righteousness, mercy, love, kindness, compassion, all of that. So we're send out righteousness' light and righteousness' truth. So in verse 1, it talks about vindicating I and defending I cause against people that are not righteous, people that are deceitful, people that are unjust. And I will be delivered from such folks, as I am right now. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not talking about anyone's reputation or talking about people's character. However, there are sometimes folks that are not honest, and they're not justice. So, and they're not righteousness. So I have been vindicated from such. and I have been defended, my cause has been defended. So in verse 2, for righteousness, for I and I, for righteousness is the Most High, in whom I take safety, right? That's who I take safety in, righteousness, mercy, love. And we have labels. We have labels of God, Lord, Jesus, Jehovah, Selassie. We have these titles, right? And these titles, underneath that, we fail to see and we fail to live those definitions of what God, Lord, and Jesus is. So, taking safety in that righteousness and being and feeling that you've been rejected, the question is, why have you rejected me? Why do I go about mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? So the question in verse 2 is about taking safety in righteousness. And then the question is, then there's a question of, why have I been rejected? Why do I go about mourning? Because of the enemy's oppression. And oppression is a serious thing. Oppression can be emotional oppression, financial, sexual, all kinds of oppression. And when we talk about oppression of the enemy, this is what the enemy does: oppresses, down presses, okay, takes and takes and takes, and there's no reciprocity. So in verse 3, it's about sending out light and truth. So I send out light and truth, and let light and truth be the leader. That's who I'm going to vote for. That's who I'm going to allow me to be led by. I'm going to be led by light and truth. That's what's going to lead me. And let light and truth bring I to the happy place, the sacred place, that sacred hill, and to that dwelling that is safety, right? Up above, on high. So we're sending out light, we're sending out truth, and let's see. Out in that sending out of light and truth, we're going to receive that. So in verse 4, this is Psalm 43. For those of you just joining, this is Psalm 43, and it's verse 4. So I will go to the altar of righteousness. Okay? I will go to the altar of righteousness. And in that altar of righteousness, for some reason I don't have a good connection in here. I have to go outside. Let's see if I could go out here. Okay, for some reason I'm not getting a good connection, everybody. So I'm going to have to go outside. Okay, let's see if we can go out here and get a better connection. Okay, so let's see if we can get a better connection out here. Okay, so we have verse 3. Verse 3. Okay, let me get my tea. Okay. So, verse 3 is sending out light and truth and letting that light and truth lead you. Let the light and truth bring you to the righteous hill, that righteous place, and to the righteous dwelling. So you are dwelling in goodness and mercy and righteousness and love and kindness and all of the attributes that belong to that sacred, glorious one that we know that is above, right? So in verse 4, after all of that you have sent out and that you are allowing to lead you, then you will go to the altar of righteousness. Then you will go to the place of righteousness that's your exceeding joy. Then you will give thanks with the drum and the instrument. Then you will do all of these things that are part of the glory of what is on high. It rained out here just a while ago. We had a nice little rain. So in verse 5, this is the ending verse, because in the previous verse 4, it's about chanting that music and making melody to righteousness, to goodness and mercy and love. So verse 5 is, why are you sad? Why are you cast down, O I and I life? And why are you in turmoil within I and I? So the question is, a lot of times people have anxiety and people are going through depression and going through breakups and going through divorces and going through, deaths and births and all of this stuff, a part of life that we go through. And we sometimes ask the question, and the question is sometimes asked of us, why do we look that way? Why is our life casted down, and why are we in turmoil inside of us? Why is that happening? So the answer is to hail righteousness. Have that focus on righteousness, goodness, mercy, and love. And you will again be happy. You will again be giving thanks and adulation. You will again rise to that knowledge that you have a future, and that future is salvation, and that is coming from your righteousness, your goodness. Because when people talk about God dwells within, what is God? God is righteousness. What is Jah? Jah is love. What is Selassie the First, the Trinity, the power of three in one? What is all of the names that we call this higher power? It's all about righteousness, mercy, and love and kindness. This is what it's about. So you always err on that side. People make mistakes. I made mistakes. I tried to err on the side of kindness, but hurt from somebody's deception and somebody's uncommunicative discourse, caused my momentary lapse in judgment. And I returned to correct myself. because the eighth commandment is about coming to people's defense. When they do you wrong, come to their defense. They may not know better. They may not know how to communicate. They may not be mature enough to communicate that they want to break up the way I did. I wrote a letter and I communicated, this isn't working. I'm spinning my wheels. I'm pouring into you, but you're not pouring into me, because you may feel that I have everything I need, but I don't, because I need you. You're my partner, right? You're not pouring into me. I'm a strong woman, and people may look at it as I don't need anything. I'm good, right? I got my work, I got my MacBook, and I'm doing my work. However, in reality, I am just like, needing to have somebody pour into me just the same way as I pour into them. So when we look at this eighth commandment, it brought me to the realization of my own shortfall when dealing with a breakup and dealing with somebody who is not being honest or being forthcoming or truthful. So in dealing with that, I have to refer now to the eighth commandment, that I am not going to destroy people's reputations. I'm not going to call their names. I'm just going to talk about my past relationship and this is what happened, and take out the names. So instead, we are to come to their defense. We need to speak well of them. This person was kind to me. They got me a puppy. They showed me kindness. So that's what I'm going to focus on, all of that. And interpret everything they do in the best possible light. So the fact that they broke up with me and they found someone else, I'll interpret that in the best possible light. I'll look at myself. So when we look at the Psalm today, Psalm 43, sending out light and truth. That is very important, because when we send out light and truth, we receive the same thing we send out. So I read the verse today, and the verse today came from Psalm 119, verse 60, and it's about hastening and not delaying to obey the commands. And the commands are in the commandments. And the commandments that I really focus on is the eighth commandment, as I am learning and growing and correcting myself and reflecting on myself. So in the first commandment, we have to trust, to have no other gods, right? We are to fear, love, and trust righteousness above all things. And in that, I include the trappings that people have that are worshipped: money, sex, drugs, gambling, alcohol, violent video games, cell phones, social media, all of this stuff become gods. People worship this and they look at it as the end all of everything. So the first commandment is about loving and trusting in the Most High above all things. And what is that Most High? That Most High is righteousness, goodness, love, mercy, non-violence, okay, all of that. The second commandment is about taking the name of righteousness in every time of need and calling on that, to commune with that, to chant music to that, to give thanks to that name. So not taking the name and of righteousness and turning it into wrongness. Like people say, my bad. And you are righteous. There's nothing bad about you. But when you put that word on yourself, you now have that pieces of bad that you have brought to yourself. So we have to use words. We have to use language that is going to empower us, that is going to give us that sense of meaning. Because when we use words that lie and deceive in the name of righteousness, you know, we don't want to curse or swear or, do nefarious things to folks. So we want to instead use the name of righteousness in every time of need, to call on, to commune with, to chant music to give thanks to. So the third commandment is about keeping the word sacred. Just like I said in the second commandment, stop talking about my bad. You're not bad. You maybe made a mistake and you just apologize. My apologies on that. I, didn't know or something. You apologize. So in this third commandment, it's about the word. And it goes based off of the second one, that you have to keep that word sacred and glad to hear and learn about the word, and not get, all uptight when somebody speaks blessed rise, and it's blessed. Mourning has two different meanings. Mourning could be the rise of the, grieving somebody's passing, so mourning can be a lot of different meanings. So we use the one word meaning, that is rise. It is the rise. The sun is risen. Okay, it's risen. So in the fourth commandment, we're honoring our parents. We're honoring our parents. We're honoring them for their kindness towards us as children. So we have to honor our parents. We have to serve them, obey, love, and respect them. These are the things that we do. We do not want to despise nor anger our parents. So we are to fear and love righteousness to the point where we don't want to do any wrongness to anyone. So the fifth commandment is about violence. So violence, whether it's in a violent video game, whether it's in a violent act that you do to someone, it's the fifth commandment. It's about not committing violence or harm on someone. Okay, instead we help and we support people's basic life's needs. Okay. The sixth commandment is about cheating and deceiving and lying and to honor your partner, to be honest with your partner, to lead pure and decent lives in your words and in your works. However, when folks don't have words or communication, and their actions are speaking for them, and when their actions are not decent, and when they're not loving and honoring each other, they're breaking this commandment. This commandment is being broken about adulterous. Okay. The seventh commandment is about stealing. You don't steal from folks. I've had people take from my bank account without asking me. That's stealing. So that's the seventh commandment. You are not to steal. You're not to take people's money or their property. Instead, you want to help them to improve and protect their property and income. So you talk about financial literacy. You talk about how to manage money. You talk about that. You support workshops that are going to help people improve and protect their property and their income. So that is the seventh commandment. The eighth commandment, my favorite so far, because I've learned that you leave people's names out of your statements. So you do not destroy people's reputations. You don't slander them. You don't destroy their reputations. You come to their defense. You speak well of them. You interpret everything they do in the best possible light. So this is what the eighth commandment is about, okay? And I kind of broke that one. by posting on social media about my ex and her nefarious, non-communicative relation with me after 6 years. You couldn't tell me that you met someone else. I had to ask. So within that, I reacted wrongly, okay, big time wrongly. So I'm glad that I have my little catechism book because I got it on Sunday at church, and it has impacted me to realize that I did something wrong. So the ninth commandment is that you shall not, instead, you should help and be of service to people in keeping what is theirs. So you don't want to take something from someone. You don't want to trick people out of their inheritance or property or try to get it for yourselves by claiming a legal right to it, etc. So instead, you want to be of strength and service, you know, to folks in keeping what is theirs. So, like I told my mom, I don't want anything from my dad. I'm going to help you all keep what you got, but I don't want anything for myself. So, within that, and that being said, what's up with my internet? Keeps going in and out. But anyway, that is the ninth commandment. And the 10th commandment is about, it's about, you don't want to entice, force, or steal people away from people. You don't want to do that. And that is a 10th commandment. When somebody comes to you and talks to you about their relationship and it's complicated, is that instead of talking to them and urging them to stay and fulfilling their responsibilities, you're going to entice and force them away from that person. That you broke the 10th commandment, because you shall not covet somebody else's relationship and what belongs to them. So I feel this is what happened with my ex and her friend that she met. The friend that she met may have enticed her to leave the relationship instead of urging her to stay and fulfilling the responsibilities she's had for 6 years with me. So when we look at the 10th commandment, people, it's about not wanting what your neighbor has and or anything that belongs to your neighbor, right? You're not going to, covet. That's the word, covet what your neighbor has, but you're going to urge them to stay and fulfill their responsibilities. So that is the 10 commandments in a nutshell. And when we look at the psalm today, sending out light and truth and keeping the commands is in our verse today. It's in our verse today about obeying these commands and not delaying. So I couldn't delay. I had to admit and I had to commit to my faith that to commit to my faith that I am going to self-reflect, look at myself and not look at the other person and what they did to me. That's not what I'm going to do. So let's see. So let's look at the word today. Yesterday the word was ease. Today, okay, let's see. Yeah, the internet is moving quite slow. The word today is acceptance. The word today is acceptance. And the word today is acceptance. Let's look at it. Let's look at the word today, acceptance. As it's loading, let's see. Okay. Okay, here it is. Got it now. Okay, here we are. Oops. It just rained out here and it's got all these gnats now. Okay. Whew. Okay, so as we finish the psalm, I want to recap. So, sending out light and truth, sending out light and truth. And that is our psalm today. And our word today is acceptance. Have a blessed day, everyone.